The world had forgotten what it was like to be united, as when the global conflicts where endless borders divided nations' ideologies clashed, and the people of Earth were consumed by greed and distrust. It seemed impossible that anything could break through the veil of division that covered the planet. But something deep beneath the surface of the Earth was waiting to awaken, a relic older than any civilization or empire known to man, buried within the ruins of a long-forgotten civilization. It had remained hidden for millennia, its true purpose long obscured by time. It was an ordinary day when it was discovered by accident. A small team of archaeologists digging near an ancient mountain range stumbled upon a massive stone door that appeared to be impenetrable. No matter how they tried to pry it open, the door remained sealed tight. But as the excavation continued, strange markings began to appear on the rock faces surrounding the door, symbols that seemed to pulse with a light of their own, glowing faintly under the pressure of their touch. And as one archaeologist traced a hand over the surface, the door gave way, opening with an almost eerie silence. Inside the chamber was not what anyone had expected. At first glance, it appeared empty, just another forgotten vault. But as the team ventured further in, the walls were adorned with carvings of strange and unearthly designs. The air grew thick with an energy they could not explain, a hum, a vibration that made the hair on the back of their necks stand on end. In the center of the room they found a large artifact glowing softly in the dim light. It was a round stone carved with symbols that seemed to shift as their eyes moved over them. It felt ancient, but there was something undeniably powerful about it. The lead archaeologist placed a hand on the artifact, and the moment their skin made contact, the ground trembled as if the earth itself had taken a deep breath, and the artifact came to life. A flash of light filled the chamber, and the world outside felt the pulse. A wave of energy radiated out into the sky. A shockwave that no one understood or could explain rippled across the planet. In an instant, the strange power from the artifact spread across the world, each human feeling a strange tingling sensation, as if something was awakening inside of them. It was subtle at first, a sharp clarity in their thoughts, a strange new awareness of the world around them. But the change was undeniable. And then it began to grow. Those who touched the artifact felt it most acutely. But it was not only them who changed. The energy spread quickly across the globe. People found themselves suddenly able to think faster, react quicker, and see further than ever before. Some experienced bursts of strength, others an instinctive understanding of technology and nature. It was as if humanity had unlocked some dormant potential deep within themselves, and they were not the only ones to notice this strange transformation. Far above Earth, in the far reaches of space, something ancient stirred the galaxy's old powers. Those who had long believed humanity to be weak and insignificant felt the sudden surge of energy, and for the first time in ages they feared the humans. The ancient oath that had been forgotten by time was no longer just a myth, it had been activated, and with it came the realization that humanity had the potential to change the fate of the galaxy forever. But the question remained, would they use this power to build or destroy? The world was in chaos and wonder alike as humanity grappled with the implications of what had just unfolded. The energy from the artifact did not just change people, it reshaped entire societies. Overnight, entire cities were thrown into a frenzy as individuals began to discover the full extent of their new abilities. Military forces found their training and equipment insufficient for the powers that had awakened in their ranks. Scholars and scientists were left in awe of their newfound intellect, while ordinary citizens felt the surge of strength and heightened senses with a mixture of confusion and exhilaration. At first there was panic. People tried to control the flood of power rushing through them. Some couldn't handle the sudden transformation, and chaos spread as governments struggled to maintain order amid the confusion. There were whispers of a deeper truth, that the changes weren't random nor accidental. They were a calling. Something more profound had been activated inside every human being, as if they were meant to become more than they ever imagined possible. Leaders around the globe began to rise to the occasion, as if guided by instinct, calling for unity in a time of uncertainty. Their voices echoed through every media outlet, spreading a message of hope and cooperation urging people to embrace their new potential for the benefit of all nations. As a result, many nations that had once been locked in conflict began to reconcile differences. Old alliances were reforged, and new ones were built from the ground up. The world began to slowly unite under a singular purpose, not out of fear, but out of a shared sense of responsibility toward this new power that had been gifted to them. While Earth struggled to come to terms with its transformation, the other races of the galaxy were already watching. The ancient civilizations that had long ruled the stars sensed the shift, and for the first time in centuries, a sense of unease spread across the galactic empire. The universe had always been a place where the strongest ruled, and humanity had always been seen as a primitive species, a fragile and unimportant race amongst the stars. But this sudden surge of energy was unlike anything they had ever experienced. In the heart of the galaxy, the Voltrax Empire began to take notice. Their spies on Earth reported back that the humans had unlocked something powerful and uncontrollable, something that threatened their supremacy. The Voltrax had long been the conquerors of countless worlds and had always maintained a strict order over the galaxy, but now they faced a species that had the potential to undo everything they had worked for millennia. Their fleets were already being mobilized on a course for Earth, and with them came an air of cold calculation. They knew the humans had no idea what they had just unleashed, but it was only a matter of time before they discovered the full scope of their power. The Zoran, on the other hand, ancient and wise, watched from afar as the energy pulse reached their homeworlds. The Zoran were not a race of warriors, but rather the galaxy's secretive intellectuals and diplomats. Their vast knowledge of the universe's mysteries had always kept them in a position of quiet influence. But even they could not ignore the sudden rise of humanity's power. A species that had once been insignificant was now showing signs of dominance. They did not fear humanity's strength outright, but they feared the unknown, for they knew that the oath had been made long ago, and its fulfillment could bring about a change that none of them could control. Back on Earth, those who had felt the first stirrings of change began to prepare not just for survival, but for a future in which humanity would not only survive, but thrive. The question was no longer how to cope with newfound power, but what to do with it. Could they rise together, or would the very thing that made them stronger tear them apart? As the days passed, the world began to settle into a new rhythm. Yet one thing was undeniable. The change was permanent, and humanity could never return to the way things once were. The power coursing through them was too profound to ignore, and too dangerous to be left unchecked. World leaders, who had once been divided by ideology, now found common ground in the face of this new reality. They knew that their differences would need to be put aside if humanity was to survive the challenges that lay ahead. The time for infighting was over, and the time for unification had arrived. A new global council was formed, comprised of the world's greatest minds, leaders, and visionaries, to steer Earth toward a new future together. They worked to understand the full potential of the powers now residing within their species. Some began researching ways to control the energy more effectively, while others pushed for exploration and expansion beyond Earth's borders. With each passing day, the scope of humanity's abilities became clearer, and the responsibility of their newfound strength began to weigh heavily upon them. The promise made so long ago was no longer just a distant myth. It was now a living reality, and they could feel the universe's gaze upon them. The people of Earth were no longer scattered individuals, but a collective force united by the belief that they were destined for something greater. The power granted to them had bonded them in ways that nothing else had before, and soon the rest of the world followed suit. Nations began to cooperate on a scale never seen before. A single leader emerged from the Global Council, a figure who embodied humanity's newfound strength and vision for the future. His name was Marcus Drayton, and his words echoed with the weight of the oath that had been awakened. We stand on the precipice of a new era, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Our destiny is ours to shape, and we will rise together to fulfill the promise that was made so long ago. We are no longer divided by borders or ideologies. We are one people, and we will be the protectors of the universe. His words resonated with a global population who had long been plagued by division and fear, yet despite the unity achieved within Earth's borders, a deeper fear began to settle in the hearts of many what would become of humanity once the other civilizations of the galaxy took notice. Would they welcome Earth's rise, or would they see it as a threat that needed to be crushed before it could grow too strong? Even as the Earth moved toward unity, an undeniable tension hung in the air. The Voltrax Empire had already sent scouts to observe Earth's progress, and their reports were far from encouraging. The Zoran, on the other hand, watched with a mix of curiosity and caution. Their ancient wisdom told them that humanity's rapid rise was a sign of both promise and peril. The once dismissive galactic powers were now paying close attention to Earth's every move, and with each passing day it became clear that humanity was not only a player in the galaxy's future, they were rapidly becoming its most unpredictable force. Soon the first test would come. The Voltrax fleets were on the move, and they were headed straight for Earth with the knowledge that war could be imminent. Humanity's leaders prepared for the inevitable. They would not back down. They had made an oath to protect the galaxy, and they would not let fear or doubt shake them from that path. The time had come for humanity to prove itself on the galactic stage. The question was no longer whether they could rise, but whether the galaxy was ready for them. The Voltrax fleet arrived at the edges of Earth's solar system, like a dark storm looming on the horizon. The ships were massive warships built for conquest and destruction. Each one bristled with advanced weaponry and shields designed to decimate entire fleets. But what the Voltrax did not anticipate was the sheer resolve of humanity and the unexpected power that surged through Earth's defenses. Humanity had no intention of simply submitting or retreating into their corner of the universe. They were determined to fulfill the promise made so long ago. The Global Council immediately sprang into action as Earth's newly formed United Defense Force went on high alert. In a matter of hours, humanity mobilized its fleets not just to defend their homeworld, but to show the galaxy that they would not be intimidated. The ships were designed using the latest human ingenuity, combining technology unlocked through their newfound abilities with the very resources Earth had been cultivating for years. And while Earth's military was nowhere near the scale of the Voltrax, it was fueled by something far stronger, a unity that no other species had ever experienced before. The first skirmish took place just outside Earth's orbit. The Voltrax flagship, the Colossus, led the charge, its guns firing a barrage of plasma missiles aimed at Earth's defenses. The human ships responded immediately, weaving through the air with an unpredictability that baffled the Voltrax commanders. No human fleet had ever engaged with such precision and skill. The humans didn't fight like the Zoran or the Xenkar, who relied on sophisticated strategies or overwhelming firepower. They fought with passion and creativity, using their newfound powers to anticipate their enemies' moves and adapt in real time. As the battle raged, Earth's ships began to exploit the Voltrax weaknesses, shifting patterns in unexpected ways, using the environment of the solar system itself to their advantage. As a missile barrage from the Colossus came hurtling toward Earth's defense satellites, a human pilot used his enhanced reflexes to guide a counterstrike using nothing but a modified shuttle and a series of magnetic fields. No one could believe what they were seeing. The Voltrax fleet was being outsmarted at every turn, each move countered by the humans' ingenuity and unpredictability. The battle was turning in Earth's favor. On the ground, the people of Earth watched in awe as their ships fought off the invading armada. They weren't just defending their planet. They were defending the future of humanity. The air was thick with anticipation as millions gathered in city squares and on the internet, cheering on the human fleet. Every citizen, from the poorest to the wealthiest, could feel the connection, the sense that they were all part of something larger than themselves. It was as if the power granted to them had unlocked a collective spirit, an unbreakable will to fight for each other and for their shared future. The Voltrax, stunned by the unexpected resistance, began to reassess their strategy. Their commanders tried to regroup, but they underestimated how deeply humanity's resolve ran. What they didn't understand was that it wasn't just about the victory or the power. It was about fulfilling an oath, a promise made to the universe that humanity would rise as a force of balance and protection, and that nothing would stand in their way. By the time the Voltrax realized they were losing, it was too late. Earth had already landed a devastating blow to their flagship's energy core, forcing the Colossus to retreat in a matter of hours. The Voltrax fleet was scattering, leaving Earth's orbit behind. The humans had won. The victory was more than just a military achievement. It was a statement to the galaxy, a statement that humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated, and that the universe would soon learn to fear the consequences of ignoring their oath to protect the cosmos. As the dust settled, humanity's leaders gathered to discuss their next move, but in the back of their minds, they all knew one thing: the real battle was only just beginning, and the universe would soon have to reckon with the full force of what they had just awakened. In the wake of humanity's stunning victory, the galaxy's gaze shifted once again, this time with a mixture of admiration and fear. The Voltrax Empire, humbled and retreating, had underestimated Earth's resolve and the power humanity now wielded. But that retreat was only the beginning. Behind the Voltrax, a greater and far more ancient force watched closely. The Zoran, the architects of galactic diplomacy, and the galaxy's intellectual elite. They had never once feared humanity, seeing them as an emerging species on the verge of self-destruction. But the events of the past few weeks had shaken their foundation. The humans had proven themselves capable of far more than they ever could have imagined. As humanity's ships patrolled the edges of their system, the Zoran began to prepare for what was coming. They had spent centuries manipulating the politics of the galaxy, playing both sides in countless interstellar conflicts. They had guided wars, brokered peace, and ensured the survival of civilizations. But now, the sudden emergence of a species capable of not only surviving, but thriving in the chaos of galactic power struggles, threatened everything the Zoran had worked for. They could not allow humanity to rise unchecked. While the Voltrax licked their wounds and the Zoran plotted behind closed doors, Earth's leaders remained focused on their next steps. Despite the victory over the Voltrax, they knew that the galaxy was vast, filled with dangers far beyond what they had yet faced. Marcus Drayton, humanity's unifying leader, addressed the Global Council, the weight of the galaxy's uncertainty hanging over him. "We've shown that we will not be cowed. But this is just the beginning. We can't stand alone forever. We need allies, those who want to see the end of the tyranny that has controlled the stars for so long. If we do this right, we won't just defend Earth, we'll create a future for all sentient life." The Council was united in purpose, but there was a hesitation in the air. Some were still fearful of the immense power they had unlocked. Others were unsure of the next steps. Some suggested they should reach out to the other races, broker alliances to solidify their position. But not all of the universe's powers would be open to Earth's sudden rise. Humanity had already made enemies. Unknown to the Council, on a faraway world, the ancient alliance of the Zelfar, a race of peacekeepers who had lived in the shadows of galactic politics for millennia, observed humanity's ascent with a growing sense of intrigue and dread. Their entire existence had been built on maintaining the balance of power, and for the first time in history, they were unsure of how to maintain that balance with a species as unpredictable as humanity, now showing signs of breaking all the rules. Simultaneously, a covert group within the Zoran began to reach out to humanity, not with a message of peace, but one of caution. They offered technology and wisdom, claiming they wanted to guide humanity to their rightful place among the stars, but their true intentions were unclear. There were those within the Zoran who had long seen humanity as a potential ally, a new kind of power that could challenge their more despotic allies. But those in the ruling class feared what such a partnership would mean for their centuries of control. Humanity's rise had ignited a fire in the heart of the universe, and all the established powers were forced to reckon with the question: what would the universe look like with humans in the picture? Some saw them as the potential to reshape the galaxy for the better, others as an unpredictable and dangerous force that could tip the delicate balance of power. On Earth, Marcus Drayton had one thought above all others. Humanity would not bend to the will of the galaxy's old powers. They had made an oath, and they would fulfill it, no matter the cost. As Earth prepared for what was coming, humanity knew one thing for sure. The stakes had never been higher, and they could no longer afford to wait. The galaxy would either adapt to humanity or be swept aside by their rise. The shockwave of humanity's victory reverberated across the galaxy like a dark warning to those who had once underestimated them. The Voltrax fleet had been sent into retreat, but the damage to their pride and their authority was far more significant than any physical wound. Could a species that had once been considered primitive and weak now pose a threat to the entire galaxy? If Earth could defeat the Voltrax, what was to stop them from challenging every empire that had ruled the stars for millennia? In the heart of the galaxy, the ancient powers began to stir. The Zoran, wise and calculating, could no longer afford to ignore the implications of what had just happened. Their knowledge of the universe was vast, but even they could not see the full potential of humanity. Their leaders convened in secret, debating whether to support Earth's rise or to quash it before it could grow too powerful. The Zoran had always held the reins of galactic politics, but the balance was shifting and the rise of humanity was threatening to undo everything they had worked for. Meanwhile, the Voltrax had returned to their homeworld in disgrace. They had underestimated humanity's power and were now scrambling to regroup. Their leadership was fractured, their forces demoralized, and their entire military strategy had been exposed as flawed. They were not prepared for a war with Earth, but they had no choice but to press on. They had sworn to maintain galactic dominance, and they would not let some backwater species stand in their way. And so, the inevitable happened. The Voltrax Empire declared war on Earth once again, this time bringing their full might to bear. It wasn't just a fleet now. It was an entire armada, a convergence of the galaxy's deadliest warships, weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. The Voltrax had learned from their earlier defeat, and this time they came prepared with overwhelming firepower. But humanity had changed. The very thing that had united them in the face of their previous battle, an unyielding spirit and a collective will to protect, had only grown stronger now. Under the guidance of Marcus Drayton, Earth had established a powerful and unified military presence, not only on Earth, but throughout its expanding colonies. Humanity's ability to adapt and innovate had given them the edge over any enemy. They were no longer just reactive. They were proactive, ready for whatever came next. As the Voltrax Armada entered Earth's solar system, the full scope of humanity's preparations became apparent. Every available fleet ship was ready, every defense system fully operational. Earth was no longer just a planet. It had become a fortress, fortified by human ingenuity and the bond that connected every citizen of the world. The first wave of Voltrax ships came into view, their dark silhouettes blocking out the stars. The battle was inevitable, but humanity's response was unlike anything the Voltrax could have anticipated. As the first blast from the Voltrax fleet rang out, Earth's fleet struck back with a barrage of lasers and plasma bursts. Coordinated with surgical precision, each human ship moved with a fluidity that defied the enemy's expectations. They didn't just rely on brute force. They used their enhanced powers to predict enemy movements and outthink their opponents in real time. The Voltrax responded with even more ferocity, launching a barrage of missiles that lit up the darkness of space. But Earth's defenses held strong, using their newly developed electromagnetic shielding and adaptive technology to deflect most of the attacks. Humanity's power had grown beyond even the military's expectations, and as the battle unfolded, it became clear. The tide of war was shifting. The fight was brutal and unforgiving, but humanity was not fighting to simply defend their planet. They were fighting for the very future of the galaxy. The Voltrax commanders could see it now in the way humans fought, with unity and an unshakable determination that no enemy had ever been able to match. After hours of intense battle, the Voltrax flagship Oblivion was struck by a direct hit from one of Earth's newly developed kinetic missiles, piercing its shields and causing critical damage. The Voltrax flagship began to spiral out of control, its massive engines igniting in a spectacular explosion that sent shockwaves through the Voltrax fleet. With their flagship gone, the Voltrax forces began to scatter. Retreating back toward the far reaches of the galaxy, Earth's fleet did not pursue. Instead, they watched as the Voltrax forces limped away, defeated and broken. For the second time, Earth had stood victorious. But as the human leaders looked to the stars, they knew this wasn't the end. The Voltrax were not the only power in the galaxy, and the universe would soon realize the full weight of the oath humanity had made long ago. The true war was only just beginning. In the wake of humanity's second victory, there was a brief moment of triumph, a sense that they had truly proven themselves to the universe. The Voltrax had been humbled, their might shattered by human ingenuity, resolve, and unity. But despite the temporary calm, the galaxy's ancient powers were not content to simply let humanity have its way. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. And humanity, for all its power, was about to face a new, even greater challenge. The Zoran, ever calculating and detached, watched from the shadows. Their vast intelligence network had been monitoring Earth's rise for months, but they had been slow to act, believing that the Voltrax could handle the problem. Now, though, the Zoran were aware that the human species was a far more complicated issue. Their potential, their ingenuity, and their growing influence could not be ignored any longer. And so, they made their move. From the outer reaches of the galaxy, a fleet of Zoran ships arrived at Earth's orbit, silently entering the solar system under the cover of deep space. The Zoran did not come to fight. They came to speak, to negotiate, or so they claimed. But the humans, now hardened by their experiences, knew better than to trust the ancient race. They had heard the whispers, the rumors of the Zoran's manipulations of galactic affairs, their secretive control of vast resources, and their history of coercion. The humans would not be caught off guard again. Marcus Drayton, the leader who had unified humanity, gathered his most trusted advisors in the High Command Center. The threat from the Zoran was not one that could be taken lightly. They were a sophisticated and powerful force, and their diplomatic efforts had always been successful with other species. But humanity was different. They had no intention of bowing to the Zoran's influence. "They come with a different purpose than the Voltrax," Marcus said, looking around at the faces of his advisors. "But their message will be the same: submit or be destroyed." "We've seen what happens when they think they can dominate," one of his generals spoke up. "We can't afford to play their game. They'll try to use their words to manipulate us, like they've done with countless other civilizations. They won't succeed," Marcus replied with quiet determination. "We will stand firm." But standing firm meant more than just resisting diplomacy. It meant preparing for a war that no one could afford to lose. The Zoran were known for their manipulation of knowledge and their ability to turn any situation to their advantage. It was clear that the Zoran would not accept humanity's rise without trying to undermine it. There was only one way forward. Humanity had to prove, once and for all, that they would not be cowed by the ancient empires that had ruled the galaxy for so long. Humanity had made an oath to protect, to rise above their past, and to reshape the galaxy for the better. But this oath now had a new weight to it. The Zoran represented the first true test of humanity's ability to keep their word, not only to themselves but to the entire universe. In the weeks that followed, Earth's top engineers and scientists began working at a feverish pace to develop a weapon that could match the Zoran's intelligence and their vast resources. Humanity's new powers had unlocked incredible potential, but the Zoran were a species of deep knowledge, and they would not be defeated by brute force alone. The new weapon had to be something revolutionary, something that could turn the tide of the coming conflict before it even began. Meanwhile, the Zoran quietly observed, confident in their ability to manipulate and control Earth. But as their emissaries made their diplomatic approach to Earth's leaders, they were met with a surprising coldness. Humanity was no longer an empire to be manipulated. They were a force of their own, with the power to shape the galaxy on their own terms. The first real test of the Zorans' intentions came when they offered a trade. A chance for humanity to join their alliance, a partnership in the future of the galaxy. But Earth had already learned the lesson that no alliance built on manipulation was worth forming. Marcus Drayton's answer was simple, but firm. "We will not join you," he said. "We will rise on our own. And if you stand in our way, we will fight." The Zoran, taken aback by the humans' boldness, left Earth's orbit with their tail between their legs. But this was only the beginning. The true war was about to unfold, a war not just for the fate of Earth, but for the future of the galaxy itself. The universe was watching, waiting, and its fear of humanity had only just begun. The galaxy held its breath as humanity's defiance against the Zorans spread like wildfire. The message was clear. Earth was no longer a passive player in the vast cosmic theater. The Zoran, long the architects of galactic diplomacy and control, had underestimated the power that had awakened on Earth. But even as the Zoran retreated into the shadows, it was evident that their manipulation was only one part of the much larger web of galactic politics. Back on Earth, Marcus Drayton and his council were preparing for what they knew would be an inevitable escalation. The Zoran had underestimated humanity's resolve, but the Zoran were not the only ancient power in the galaxy. In the dark corners of space, more eyes were beginning to watch, more ancient forces, some neutral, some hostile, all waiting to see whether humanity's new strength was sustainable or if it would crumble under the weight of their own ambition. Marcus sat in the war room, his fingers tapping thoughtfully against the table. The Voltrax were licking their wounds, the Zoran had shown their hand. But the galaxy was a vast place, and other empires would soon be taking their turn. "We've shown them our power," Marcus said, addressing his generals. "But power alone isn't enough. We need allies, those who will stand with us, not just to survive, but to shape the future of this galaxy." He turned to a display on the wall showing the movements of various alien fleets. The Voltrax were regrouping on the outskirts of their empire, nursing their pride, and building their forces. The Zoran were quietly consolidating their power, but they would not give up on their plans to bring Earth under their control. And then there were the other species, the ones that had watched the rise of humanity from afar, unsure of what to make of the newly awakened power. "We can't face all of them alone," Marcus continued, "but we don't have to. There are other forces out there, races who may see what we offer as an opportunity, not a threat. We need to find them." The next phase of humanity's rise would be a delicate one. Diplomacy would be as crucial as military strength. Earth needed to approach the galactic powers not with fear, but with the confidence that they were a force to be reckoned with. If humanity's new power was going to survive in this larger universe, they would need to form a coalition of like-minded races, those who valued freedom, peace, and unity. But even as Marcus set plans in motion to reach out to potential allies, Earth's fleet remained vigilant. The war with the Voltrax was not over, and the galaxy was already watching to see how Earth would handle the inevitable counterattacks. The very first volley had been fired, and humanity had stood tall, but there was more to come. And the universe had a long memory. In the weeks that followed, Earth's ambassadors began their outreach to various alien empires, from the enigmatic Haloran to the nomadic Star. Some greeted humanity's rise with cautious optimism, while others expressed deep concerns about what this new force meant for the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. On the battlefield, Earth's fleets had not been idle. They continued their rapid advancements in technology, incorporating new insights from their early victories against the Voltrax and refining their combat strategies. Humanity was no longer just a reactive force. They were becoming proactive, anticipating the moves of their enemies before they made them. In deep space, however, the true test of humanity's resolve was just beginning. For while the Voltrax and Zoran were powerful, they were not the only threats lurking in the dark reaches of the galaxy. Humanity's oath to protect the universe had been made, but the universe was not a safe place. Ancient enemies were stirring, ready to test the limits of what Earth could truly become. Marcus Drayton stood at the helm of Earth's first interstellar flagship, looking out across the stars. The weight of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, and humanity had taken the first steps toward a future that no one could predict. But one thing was certain: the universe had seen what humanity was capable of, and now there would be no turning back. Whether they would be remembered as saviors or destroyers was yet to be decided. But one thing was sure: humanity's oath was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same again.